Well, good morning. This is Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America, and this is program number 4. And I'm here with my friend Dan FARRINGTON, who is running for office, Oregon State Representative.
That's correct.
Yeah, and we are excited to just interview him and hear what's on his heart today. We're coming to you from, is this Wilson? They call this Wilson Park? I think it's Wilson Park. We're right down here. We're sitting at the World War II Memorial, and it's always stunning to me, Dan, all the names, and these are all just Oregonians.
Yes.
There's, I don't know how many thousand there are there who gave their life so that you and I could have the right to do this program without someone arresting us. So,
Yes.
so we just honor that, and it just seems like an appropriate place to be. So the sun is out, and if you can hear in the background, we're in the middle of David's Tent right now. And David's Tent is an annual gathering of Christian believers from all over the state of Oregon. And multiple cities come and churches, and they worship in 2-hour sets, and they stay up all night. I have people ask, they say, well, what are your hours? I say, there are no hours. We're here all the time. So seeing some wonderful things. We did move, for those of you who might want to come down. Normally we're there in front of the Capitol in the fountain area, but got overlapped. As a matter of fact, we're looking at them setting up hoopla, which you've had some role to play in the past.
Yeah.
Or even right now.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, when they first started, I played a little bit.
Oh, right.
And then I became a referee for the high schools here locally, and then so I volunteered to referee a few games in the mornings and the afternoons. And not a lot of guys do it all day long. I couldn't do it all day long, but
I used to be able to do that tent all day long too, but you know.
But it is a great atmosphere and great for kids of all ages just to play the game of basketball that they love.
So don't they come from all over the state?
They come actually, even Washington, in California, Idaho. So we've seen teams from all over.
Wow.
Especially at the competitive level. Definitely, there's teams from all Northwest, I would say.
Really, the whole Northwest. Wow.
Yeah. And then our youth is what I like to watch, is the young kids starting to play and learning how to play, and the passion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of passion.
Because you're a coach, right?
Right. Yeah. Being a coach, you love to see lots of people playing.
Yeah.
And you want to encourage that. And you want to make it a good experience. And as a referee, you try to kind of stay out of the way, but kind of control the game. So
I've been a referee for another group of people.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that not to get too far in the weeds here, but man, there are thousands of people down here and that's starting. We couldn't decide if it was Thursday or Friday, but they block off the streets, and it's just like a massive amount of people down there.
Yes, it is. They've kind of tied it together this year with Art Fair too, which is in Bush Park.
Oh, is that happening too?
Bush Park.
Oh,
so we've had, last weekend we had Iron Man, we had all these people here, and then this weekend we had the Art Fair and Hoopla, so Salem has done a nice job of just bringing different activities and different events to the city.
You think if they planned it that way to have them all?
I don't know, because Hoopla has kind of moved around in dates, and I think they're just trying to figure out what works best.
What's a good time? Yeah.
But you never, like anything, you never can pick the perfect time.
Sure.
But when you have weather like this in July, that makes the pavement dry. It makes it a lot easier to play. But also the heat. It gets warm in the afternoons, so that hot asphalt gets a little warm. It's always interesting because these courts regular roads are not just perfectly flat.
Correct.
There's a little mound in the middle, and so the shot gets a little higher or longer when you're in the corners.
Yeah. Well, listen, Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on in the political arena, and just kind of what's on your heart. I know we talked a little before the program just about the way you see I always kind of I'm a sort of get to the bottom line sort of guy, and like, what does Oregon need in this particular realm? I'm a gospel guy, a Christian man. I know you're a Christian, and so I tend to gravitate toward the spiritual, but I also know that there are a lot of things that are happening in the political, in the educational, in the social realm that do directly affect the state. So start out by telling us just a little about who you are and what it is God has you doing right now.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in Newport, Oregon, so I've been an Oregonian.
I was just in Newport 2 days ago.
my whole life. Actually, my dad was born and raised in Toledo, Oregon. And,
we were in Toledo.
And
yeah, great.
So, so I, grew up with 4 brothers, and I was 4th in line. So I learned a lot from my 3 older brothers, and good and bad. And but we were very competitive. We were always wanted to be the best. But the key thing, my father owned his own business. He learned how to work. We always went to his shop, and he had different chores for us. I learned how to wash a ready-mix truck the right way. He always throws you out there to wash it the
Some
first
people
time.
don't know what a ready-mix truck is. That's a big job right there.
Yeah, so, and it's different. So I learned how to drive trucks when I had a very young age, before I even had a license. And but he taught us how to work. But my dad was very good about giving back to the community, and that's something that all 4 of my other brothers, we all have that in us, that we've given back to our community, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
And he never wanted to be recognized for it. He just, if someone asked him for something, he just did it.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that my whole life, and where I'm at today. Went to college, got a degree in education, paid for my schooling by working at the Toledo paper mill.
Come on.
So and working there, you learn how to work too.
Yeah, that's a step up from delivering papers.
Yeah.
Which I did,
Yeah, so it was a great job, and then I didn't ever teach, but I got into sales for a company, and I shared with you earlier that it was a company that wanted me to be their sales rep, but they wanted me to understand the whole process of the company. So I started at the bottom and worked in the freezer pulling product and learned how all that happened. Then I went out and learned how to make ice cream and learned how to do that for a few months. And then I went on delivery routes and trucks and delivered to different stores, and then became a salesman in 8 months, and realized that was I didn't like it at first, but I learned so much in that 8 months that I was able to explain to my customers the process.
Yeah, so how does that affect, how do you think that affected you having to come up through the chain of command like that?
Well, I think we all want to get to the top, or whatever company we work, we want to be the best we can be. And I think something I learned from my dad is you always work like you're the owner.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And even though you're an employee, and so
ownership.
you take ownership of what you're doing, and I always looked at it as there was an advantage to that, and pride of what it looked like, and I learned that over the period of time, that 8 months. Take pride in what you're doing. I made lots of mistakes, and they corrected me. The thing about that's the other piece is, are you willing to correct yourself right away and not make the same mistake?
Take instruction.
You got to take instruction, right? Exactly. And if you make a mistake, you're going to make it, but learn from that mistake.
Right.
Not make that. Try not make that mistake again. That's something I learned through that whole process. And then I moved to Salem in '93 and came into the Rock and Rogers on Broadway and Hood with another friend of mine.
I've eaten so many hamburgers there.
Another friend of mine.
You were not the owner, though.
No, Jamie Hawley bought it from his dad and
Okay.
asked me to come in and run the restaurant. I never worked in a restaurant before, so I kind of took the same approach. I said, for the first 6 months, I'm just going to learn everybody's job.
Oh, wow.
So, and not tell them how to do it. I like hamburgers cooked a certain way.
Sure.
I mean, growing up, you like the way you like the food. So I watched them cook, and I watched them serve, and how they treated customers and all that. And then that 6 months, I said, hey, we're gonna make a change.
Yeah.
We're gonna change the way we do customer service. We're gonna change the way we're not gonna pound that hamburger into the grill. We're gonna make it nice and beautiful.
I imagine you earned their respect too, because you didn't jump right in, but you took time to identify with them.
Well, they all had bets, thought I wasn't going to be out of there in 2 months. Anyway. So, I'm a competitor too, so I want to make sure that I did it the right way, learn the whole process, understand the customers. And Salem is a unique town because it is a state. There's a lot of state workers, and money comes a certain way, so we have to make sure the prices are down so they can afford the hamburger, but you get paid at certain times of the month, and we try to manage your restaurant based on that way. So it was a good learning experience for me. But then once we changed that 6 months, the restaurant grew, like almost tripled its numbers. People all came in and said, you got management? I said, well, I just have a new way of doing things, and that way we talk to people. And customer service is very important. How we treat people, my dad had this saying. He was not a Christian man, but he always said, treat other people the way you would like to be treated.
The golden rule.
And if that's the way you want to be treated, then that's what it is. So anyway, I always had that in my mind. And at that point, I was not a Christian. Okay, so I didn't become a Christian until I was 37. So anyway,
but you brought all that into where you're at today.
Yeah, and so we built into 3 restaurants in over 5 years, and then during this time, my ex-wife left me. She had a severe eating disorder and all that. So I was raising my 2 daughters, and I met a lady whose car broke down in front of my house who had 4 kids in divorce. So we got married in '97 and decided I could not raise 6 kids and working in the restaurant business just because it's 24/7. So I went out and got into sales, into this current position I'm in now is doing independent medical exams throughout the state of Oregon and Washington. And I had to learn the same way. The guy that hired me said, hey Dan, we don't do IMEs, we do all arbitration exams, so you need to learn how to do the IME role. So basically, again, starting from scratch.
Start from the bottom.
Going out and asking people, how do I do my job? So I was asking my clients how I should do my job, and they educated me. And actually, within a year or 2, the IME business was bigger than the arbitration business because I went out and just was talking to people about what I was doing. So in 2002, I asked him, I said, now's the time. I went in knowing that I was going to buy the business. In 2002, I said, hey, I'm ready to buy the business. He said, well, I sold it to a guy in Denver, and he would like you to be the manager in Northwest. I said, well, that's not what I've been trying to do in the last 5 years. So I started my own company. Went to my dad and said, hey, can I borrow $30,000 and just get this company going? And so he put it in the bank at Pioneer Trust down here, and I borrowed from it for 3 years and paid it back. And basically, it took off. I went from 1 employee to 25 employees within 6 years. I built a building out in Kaiser, and we grew it all over Oregon. And then all of our Oregon clients were doing Washington, so they asked me to go to Washington in 2007. We moved to Washington, which was a blessing in itself.
So it sounds like you've been a coach, and I know our time's going to go fast here, so I'm going to jump a little bit. But no, it's fine. So. You sound like a kind of a self-made guy. I mean, you're just a regular guy. You've owned your business. You've went through, divorce, kids. It just seems like, you've come up the rank and file in life.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that people are looking for in leadership today. They're not looking for people that just want to put on a good show and put on a good face. They want to know people that have been down the road, and they've gone through, like I said, their rank and file. They've had difficulty in life. They've learned how to come through it, and now they're ready to help other people. So what made you decide to run for state representative?
Well, 10 years ago I ran. Kevin Cameron called me up 15 minutes before the deadline last time and said, Dan, we need you to run in House District 21. So I had that experience, and so this time around, with the redistricting, put me in House District 20. And a good friend of mine, Raquel Moore Green, who was state representative in 19, is now running for Senate in 10, approached me and said, that with redistricting, I'm running for Senate, and what do you think about 20? So I looked at it, but again, owning my own business and knowing how the tax structures, the rules, and regulations keep changing, there's no consistency, and there's no incentive to grow. For businesses. Right. There's no incentive to be the best you can be.
And that's because they take away what you...
Right. Yeah. And, the incentive, like if you're at 48 employees, if you get to 50, it puts you into a whole other
different bracket, yeah.
So there's no incentive to grow, to be successful. They're pushing us back down, which I don't like. Second is education. Again, they're lowering the standards of education, just passing kids by, and you have to invest in your children. You have to invest in these kids because when they get out there, they have the opportunity. You want to give them an opportunity to go out and get a job. You want them to have the opportunity to understand maintaining how to run a checkbook or how to work, the work ethic, those type of things. I had six kids. Linda and I raised all 6 kids, and to be successful. All 6 of them have good paying jobs. 5 of the 6 are married. The last one's getting married next June. We have 6 granddaughters. So one of the daughters was a tag student. One of the daughters was on IEP. Had the same expectations, same standards for all of them. And the one on IEP all through high school was the leading MA, medical assistant at Quality Hospital for a neurosurgeon. So we just have to invest in them, give them opportunities, show them the skills, and we're not doing that. There's no accountability, responsibility through schools right now.
And I remember that was the way it was when I was growing up.
Exactly.
So why is that not happening now? Why are we not preparing these kids?
Well, I think our standards have lowered. I think we that give everybody a trophy, make everybody feel good. Yeah. Well, sometimes, and I heard our DA say that here in town, say compassion and accountability has to be a balance.
Right.
So you can have compassion and love, but the accountability has to come alongside of it. So kids want to know their boundaries. Kids want to know what's expected and know the rules. And if you make those serious rules, they will follow them. I mean, even with the adults. I mean, if you do this, you take this, there's got to be a consequence.
There's a consequence
for that. So,
and the consequence can help you move forward. It's like, remember the World of Sports on TV years and years ago? Yeah. The something of victory, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. And everybody has to experience that difficulty that comes sometimes with blowing it or not doing it correctly or not doing your best, and that motivates you then, and you take that component away and try to make it all level, and it just doesn't work.
Well, and I've been a coach for 40 years. I started coaching when I was 21 years old, and I really was teaching them that when you have success, you got to be balanced. Don't get too high, but know what you've learned through being successful. But also, when things don't go well, we fail or that type of thing, it's how you act. Yeah, I want to use that as a skill to get better and improve. And then public safety. It's this community. We passed this measure that's measure 110, which allows anybody to carry drugs around with them everywhere they go.
It's crazy.
I actually asked a group one time, what do you think the crime rate went up after they, actually it was a couple guys I walked last weekend in South Salem, and I said, what do you think the crime rate went? Well, it probably went down. I said, no, it went up. I said, all of a sudden you're giving everybody drugs, everybody wants more drugs. Once you give somebody,
everything's just going to be fine.
Whenever you give somebody something, they're always going to want more.
Yeah.
And it's just been awful. And our police officers, I'm doing a ride around today this afternoon with Salem PD, and I've gone through their building. I've gone through the sheriffs, talked to the sheriffs from Polk County, all of them. Well, the issue is they have drugs on them. You can't do anything with them. Also, I went with our LEAD program, which is they're helping these people get off drugs and get them into the right places. But the other part with police is the Senate Bill 1510 is they can't pull people over if they have a broken tail light or headlights are off. Well, most DUIs are caught because their headlights are off.
That's right.
And I think someone else brought it up, Ted Bundy. We all remember him. Yep. He was caught because his headlights were off when he was driving around. So again, these are tools that our police officers use to help capture the package.
So one of the things that frustrates me is when the statistics prove that the course you took is not working. You would think a normal common sense individual in leadership would go, hey, we made a mistake, let's correct it. Why don't they do that, and how can we change that?
Well,
by electing Dan.
Right, exactly. Well, again, they have supermajority in the House.
Yes.
And they control the Senate, and they got the governor and the secretary. I mean, it's all the way through. So this election is really focusing on, we need a Republican governor, we need to get control of the Senate, and I've heard this a lot lately, is that we need to get control of the Senate. Number 2 is the House, we need to get closer than the 37-23, we need to get that 30-30 mark. But I look at it as, being a leader, I'm going to lead to make sure public safety is the number 1 focus.
Thank you.
Number 2 is the education has to be important, and that goes along with public safety, homelessness. I mean, these kids they're going through is all connected. Drugs, accountability, homelessness. It's all working together. And then jobs, we have to allow our business people that have great ideas, want to grow their business, we have to give them an opportunity to do that. And if we continue to hammer down at them, they're going to give up at some point. And it's amazing that people have hung on so strong right now. I mean, a lot of them probably are faith and have the faith to believe that, you know, there's going to be a turn, and we have to trust that. But I want to be a good leader in education and police safety, but also businesses. And I admire the people that sacrifice to go out and be good business people, and because it's fun when it's working.
Yeah. So how would you respond? I know this is a pretty loaded question, but how would you respond to people who question that your faith might somehow influence your decisions? I mean, I know how I would answer that. I would hope that it would, but I think there's this kind of an unrealistic fear that a believer, a Christian, would somehow try to Christianize everything. And so what would your response be to that person who is maybe fearful, and Dan's gonna use his position to preach the gospel or something like that? How would you respond to that?
Well, it's a personal relationship with God. So it's my personal relationship. You know, every morning I read my Bible and a couple of different verses and pray, help get my mind focused on the right thing, and especially off myself. And it's not about me, it's about our...
Off yourself, I like that.
And so we have to get, it's not about me, it's about our community and how we can help our community. And if I'm doing it for me, then that's wrong. I mean, that's the first thing I would say. But it helps me have a balanced approach when I look at things, and not overreact. I think a lot of things we've seen in government right now are quick reactions because of, we got to do something right now. Well, let's think about that. You know,
hold on.
And I talk about people, my Christian faith helps me keep me balanced. Helps me to, you know, if you're not in the faith, maybe, you know, I think you have tunnel vision. When you're in the faith and you understand, you see it's wide open. The blinders are off, I should say. And I can see lots of different things, and I know how it reacts, how it affects other people. I like to read. Being a coach, I had to make sure all these kids were invested. I challenged them to be invested and had high expectations for them at all levels. I mean, even the 4-year-olds that I was teaching t-ball, you have to have expectations. And if you don't have that, so I guess I look at it in a different way. You know, maybe people may think that, you know, you got a big gut. Well, it's a walk. It's your personal relationship. And if you come and ask me about it, I'll tell you how I feel about it. But I'm not out there to do it. I need to be Christ-like. I can't go out and just blow up and yell and scream and react.
And not serve other people.
Not serve other people. I have to take everything off myself. It's not, you know, like I tell a lot of people, leave all your egos at the door before you walk in. So when I walk in that building over there, it's going to be my egos. I'm not going to have I don't have an ego, but I'm going to leave it. If I did,
I'd leave it
in the car, and I'm going to walk in and say, okay, here's the situation, what's best for us.
Well, I think that's one of the big misconceptions that people who maybe don't have a faith is that, you know, the desire. I mean, I think most people I know who are believers, they understand that when you're serving the public in a civic role, it's not about trying to make everybody see things exactly the way you do. You're actually honoring people's right not to believe. You're honoring their right to choose and really protecting that right. And I think that's something that is misunderstood. Sure, our values are shaped by our faith. Same way if you were a Muslim or Buddhist or Catholic, whatever, the reason people have a faith at all is because they want to shape their values around their faith. Here in the United States, I mean, I have a strong faith, but I also have a strong conviction that I want to respect your right. God is not forcing anybody to believe.
No.
And so neither should I. No. You know, I will share, like you said, I'm a preacher. My role in this world is to preach the gospel, so I'm not ashamed of that, but at the same time, I understand that God has given us a will. And so your role, if I understand it correctly, is to serve. And a lot of people don't get this about politics. You're not just serving people that believe like you believe.
Right.
You're serving everyone. Exactly. And the good of everyone. So.
Right. Well, and that's my experience at the Union Gospel Mission. When I mentor down there with these guys, you know, they're not believers.
Yeah, right.
I'm just trying to talk to them about life, and be a friend, and be a mentor. Somebody just saying, you know, maybe look at it this way, and look at it this way. I'm not saying you have to believe in God before you can do anything.
Right.
It's a walk, and sometimes it's a lifelong walk.
Yep.
And what I try to share with them is, okay, how would that person react if you acted this way? Or, you know, and it's back to you treat others like
That's
you
right.
treat.
The golden rule that
know.
every faith believes in.
You're right, but you know,
Which Jesus said.
but you're right. But if you read through it, I mean, I'm reading with them in Ephesians right now. It's just, you know, about your character, how you respond, how you act. Again, that goes good for all people.
Yeah.
I mean, let's treat everybody equal. Let's treat everybody the same.
And I think a lot of people are waking up to those values that have been kind of cast aside for us, you know, a better way. They're starting to come back and saying, you know, man, it's not working out so well when it's every man for themselves and dog eat dog. We got to close up here, but what are you going to do for the state of Oregon? What do you feel like are your big goals? I know you already touched on it, but let's end with that. Encapsulate that again. What do you hope to do for the state of Oregon?
Well, number one is to be a good leader, and someone that will listen to the community and apply bills that make sense for the long term. Okay. And get rid of the bills that are not making sense right now. They're hampering us from being successful. You know, we need to help our children because that's our future. So if we're not educating them on reading, math, and those English skills right now at the early ages, and quit worrying about all the social stuff, we need to focus on getting them better educated so they have the opportunity to be the best that they can be.
Very good.
And then when we work with kids, that should be our expectation. It doesn't matter what their background is. Give me 15, I don't care who they are. Yeah. I'm going to find a way to make them successful.
Right.
And that's the way we should approach life. And when I go with capital, it is about bills that are going to make our state better, and get rid of the ones that are hampering us and slowing us down.
Good.
And,
very good.
But we have to care about people. It has to be community, and it's all of us working together. It's not I. It's we. We as a state. How do we make this better so people want to come here and be successful? People want to live here and be comfortable. I mean, this is a beautiful state.
It is.
And we have to take advantage of that opportunity. But we have resources here that we could use that are very valuable. But we're not using them. And so bottom line is, I'm gonna lead in that area, and I'm gonna make sure that we're playing as a team in the House.
I believe you will. So I'm hearing protect the public, educate the public, and what was the other? Oh, success.
Yeah.
Help the public to be successful through business and everything. Yeah. Those are the fields that it seems like you come up under. So.
Right, and then I have a passion for homelessness.
The homeless situation.
Yeah,
wow.
and I think there's some better ways to do it.
Yeah, Linda, my wife Linda, and I have talked so many times about this. We've been downtown, the House of downtown, for 18 years, and dealt with a lot. And this vacillation between this compassion, this overwhelming, oh my goodness, how do you help? And then the reality of there's no one size fits all, and I think that's where people wind up stumbling. And we could go into this,
yeah.
but we try to fix it like, let's make a program that works for everyone. There is no program that works for everyone. There has to be an individual approach, and we can't lose compassion, but we can't create a scenario that is not, like you said before, have expectations out of it. So big subject.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that you feel that way.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, God bless you, Dan, and thank you guys for listening. If this was encouraging to your hearts, share it with someone, and go online. And I imagine you would like for people to pray for you as you're.
Oh yeah, that's number one. Yes.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's close. Father, we thank you for all of your people in the world. We thank you for Dan. We thank you for what you're doing in his life. We ask you to guide and lead him and help him to walk his campaign out with integrity and honesty, and doing it in a way that serves people and glorifies you. And just encourage his heart today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. So God bless you. And we will next Tuesday go ahead and have the next program of Justice for America. And the rest of the week we do Words of Encouragement. We'll be coming to you live from David's tent. If you haven't come down yet, you only have till Friday. Friday's the last day. And just come and sit and hang out in the presence of the Lord. It's a wonderful place,
yes.
Wonderful time. So, all right, God bless you. We'll see you next time.